The constant scrolling is definitely an epidemic because it really makes us compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing. And
so stressful.
You know what? I'm telling you, and that was probably one of the most exhausting things that I started seeing. Hello and welcome to our next episode of To the Root podcast. My name is Toni, and here on To the Root, we discuss spirituality, self-love healing, and beauty. And speaking of beauty, my first guest with me today is Sharda Walker. Mm-hmm. She's an esthetician, she's a spiritualist, she's a yoga practitioner, and my friend. And welcome her here for some couch conversations here on To the Roots.
Yes.
So I'm so thankful that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Give yourself an introduction.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, you did start it off like a yoga instructor and an esthetician. I do quite a different things, and I love that I don't put myself in a box and that I'm opening myself up to be vulnerable in those type of ways. I got licensed as an esthetician back in, I want to say, around 2022, 2021, can't even remember. I went to G-Skin Institute out here in Las Vegas, so that's where I got my basic esthetician license. I got my advanced esthetician license at Magic Body and Sculpt, so I got to learn about laser and body contouring as well, which is really cool and really fun. For about 5 years, so I started off at 17, honestly just felt this call, this force to be on my mat. Okay.
So I wanted to find out, so when it comes to spirituality and yoga, one of the things you mentioned was when you were young and you started getting into the yoga, you felt the emotions of it. So I know when we look into the basics of yoga, how far back it goes, and starting, pretty much with Eastern culture, and then kind of making its way to Western culture. So I've always had an interest in yoga, but it always seemed too complex. So it's really something that I'm super interested in doing. But for somebody like me that's a complete novice, needs to get themselves in some physical condition, what's the best way to start? Like, do you think it's, I always feel a little overwhelmed when I think of going to like a studio. So what do you think is the best way to start that? Just at home, maybe something on TV, one-on-one? What's your take on that?
So if you feel intimidated to go into a studio, because I know a lot of people have that anxiety of being around, like going to the gym and things of that sort, and just having that thought, like somebody's looking at me right now and they thinking this and this and that. And I would say to start off, just to build that confidence, is to do one-on-ones or do it at home. One-on-ones are nice to find like a good instructor that you are able to bond with and feel that empowerment from that person with no judgment. So it's just like you and them, and they're able to focus on you and what you need. And then so you feel also more confident in what you're doing. And then at home is nice too, so you can search around the web as well. To find that balance of what you need. Now, the type of yoga, I would say more of like yin yoga, to like, it starts off with like a slow pace. And most of the time with yoga or yin yoga, you are holding that pose for maybe about 2 minutes or maybe a minute, sometimes even longer, depending on the instructor. But at least you're able to find that flow and find that fluency that you need. So you're not like breathing really hard and feeling like the need to go fast when you don't need to. So give that mind to body to be able to find that sequence, like, okay, this is what we're doing now. And then kind of elevate yourself to find different forms of yoga. But
so when you started, did you start like just by finding something on YouTube or?
Yeah, I was doing YouTube and then a little bit of hot yoga, and then I increased my times of going to that type of studio. So yeah, I started at home. I was mainly doing yoga like at night after my whole household was asleep, so I can just have that time for myself, turn on the fireplace, and then like I would just free flow that way. Watch the people that I was watching on YouTube. I think one person, her name was, I see her face. Now the channel's name, I'm not 100% sure. But there is a lot of not as melanated people on YouTube.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But I did enjoy that start, and so I can get that idea of what I need to do. And then I even found moments where I was just pausing and I was like, let me just do my thing, because I need to hold that pose a little bit longer. You're going too fast. So and I just flowed from there. But yeah, and yoga is anything that you would like it for it to be. It's not all about flexibility. As a whole, it is like strength, mobility, fluency, and flexibility as well. But it's not just like, I need to do this advanced pose. You take your time. It can literally, yoga is like savasana, which is laying down on the mat. So you could just fall asleep and you're like, yep, I'm doing yoga. If that's what your body needs, that's what your body needs. And I definitely came to the point of like, just meet myself where I'm at today. So I don't need to do the splits today, even though I kind of want to do it. But if my body's not capable right now because it hurts, then I just won't do it. But yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to talking, spirituality, I don't have an opinion one way or another on what it is that people believe. But I know for myself, I came up with a lot of staunch Baptist religion when I was a kid. Got into Christianity for a really long time. And now I kind of feel like I'm not really with any type of organized religion because I really have come to have a relationship with the infinite creator for myself. When you started with yoga, did you feel like, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but did you feel that there was any conflict? Because, back in the day with Christian religion, originally they would say yoga was a no-no, yoga couldn't be done. And I don't really know the stance on that so much anymore because I really think people are starting more to just think for themselves.
Yeah.
But did you have any personal conflict with that within yourself or with your family?
I didn't have conflict in my family, luckily. Luckily, my mom is very understanding. She may have asked why you don't want to go to church, but I just simply said, I just don't feel called to do so. So luckily, she wasn't like forcing me. Now, lately, I have been going to church, but that's because she wants to go, and it's just I'm there for support, and I'm like, okay, I'm going because for you, and she just needs that support system. So that's what I do it for. But I did find conflict within myself of like, how do I want to title myself? Should I call myself like as a Buddhist or like, do I say Christian because I'm born Christian? And when people ask me like, how do you label yourself? I'm like, I don't know.
And that's the thing I feel like we should get away from is the labels and just really embrace what speaks to our hearts and our souls.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like even looking back, I feel like during those times I was so judgmental because you just think, everything that everybody's doing is sending them to hell, and then you kind of come to realize that's the state of mind and the way that we are misrepresenting this planet. I think we're already there. I think the goal is flipping that and making it heaven on earth, which, energetically, we have the power, to do that. We actually have the power to do that.
This is so cool. We're so astonishing.
You know what? So much more than we can ever imagine, right? And then the more that you learn and the more you open your mind up, the deeper it goes. But then I think to myself, it's still not even the tip of the iceberg with what we really are typically capable of doing. Because when you go back and you do some reading and you learn about the actual yogis that walk the earth and the gurus and the power of the things that they could do, from levitation to literally leaving their body and then coming back into their body for like days on end. So yeah, we don't even realize the power that we really hold within us.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to find out, when we get to coming out of spirituality, to me, I feel like that and self-love healing kind of marry.
Yeah.
Because a little bit of my history was after my husband died. That's when I really kind of started investigating everything in my life. And then what did I really believe and what did I really want to do in my life? And, I just realized I was in a place where I really had kind of acquiesced to everything that everybody else wanted. The things that my parents thought how it should be, and, get a job with the retirement and this and that. And now we live in Las Vegas and, retirements don't cut it these days, not with how rapidly the cost of living is going up here. And, I already had gotten to a place where, like, I just can't believe that this is all there is. My husband never made it to a retirement age. And so I just thought this just can't be, this just cannot be all that there is, that we just going to come here. We have to work this job. We're not really here to raise our kids the way we want to. I felt like that led to a lot of resentment toward my job. And so I just decided I'm out. And I quit and started delving into everything into my life, and really started asking myself the questions, why do I do the things that I do? And that is where I would say the self-love healing came in. Once I became an esthetician, so for me, it's been 5 years, a little over 5 years, I started seeing these very similar patterns in my clients, things that was super similar to my life. And I think it did two things. It made me grateful that, like, wow, this wasn't just my experience. Other people are going through the same type of thing. But then, okay, wow, how do we get out of these patterns?
Yeah.
And then really start living the life that's really fulfilling to us and doing the things that we really want to do. And for me, that means freedom, and especially as, I'm getting older, I want to be able to have a much simpler life where I'm doing the things that I wake up every day and love, not doing something that I feel forced or that I have to do, and that it's something that's making a difference in the life of the people and the planet. Those are the two most important things to me. So once I kind of started really evaluating that as a whole, where I started and where I was at is where I began to really realize there's so many things from our childhoods that go so deep. And again, I know it's all over now that we hear about childhood traumas and trapped emotions. Not only that, how it puts dis-ease into the body, and in those things make us sick. So you're so young compared to me, and I think it's so beneficial that we talk about these things now, which is, again, it makes so much sense as to why I draw a lot of young clients, because my goal for them is for them to see these patterns earlier and then be able to really go inside of themselves and not be 40 and 50 dealing with things that we should have long since put down and dealt with. So are those any things, and you can go as deep or, shallow as you want to go with it, but when it comes to self-love healing, is that something that you can relate to?
Most definitely. I feel like with me continually to change the pattern of wanting to wake up, of doing something I want to do, instead of feeling forced to wake up, just get dressed and then go to whatever job, and then feeling exhausted there, and just like I just feel like I have no purpose. I'm just here for y'all. Like
Right, exactly.
That's why I created the Rise Gently ritual for me, and then I started sharing on my social media. So I called it Rise Gently Diaries. And I think that is so important because now I'm waking up for myself, and like whether it's like, okay, I'm waking up, making my bed, making sure I take my vitamins, making breakfast for myself, doing my self-love for my skincare, just giving that little massage to my skin is like, wow, I'm so beautiful. Saying affirmations to myself while I'm doing that, I feel much better. Or even just like taking a brisk walk outside or doing something on the mat, on my yoga mat, doing something for myself first before I go out and then into the external world and take care of somebody else that I probably don't even care about, like for a job or whatever. Being able to give love when my cup is filled, and that changes completely. And by doing that for myself, is able to break another person's negative cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like with that alone, like we're all living testimonies for each other. So waking up for yourself is definitely power, and giving that time for your healing for yourself is helping somebody else too, without feeling diminished and just like looking for external validation. Because if you do that self-care for yourself, then that stretches apart from validation from somebody else, like, oh, does this boy or does this girl like me, or how does social media think of me? If you stretch that apart, then it's like, wow, okay, now I know my self-worth. I know that I love myself. And yeah, validation is nice, but then it's not your main source, if that makes sense.
Not only that, I think that's one of the things I feel like for you guys has been so different than my upbringing was. There was no social media. I laugh because shoot, I think I remember back in, I don't know, maybe my it had to be like my early 30s, I think, when we first got dial up.
What?
Okay, don't.
Oh, so you had the dial-a-phone.
Let me age myself.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
yeah, because I remember getting our first computer, and we thought we was really doing something. And but you know, the thing about it was everything was not captured on a phone, and then just put out for the world to see. And not only that, I feel like the constant scrolling is definitely an epidemic, because it really makes us compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing. You know, and
So
you know what, I'm telling you, and that was probably one of the most exhausting things that I started seeing um, when I was kind of starting to, you know, try to do business and stuff. Is like, oh my God, if I see one more reel of it being the same thing, and my thing is, hey, you do your thing, but I kept thinking to myself, there has to be another way. This just can't be the only way. You know, I mean, because back in the day, doing business was emailing somebody, writing an old school letter, or actually cold calling and actually having a conversation with someone. Because no matter how much you want it on social media, you're still going to be limited, because you're really not in control of the platform. You know, so that's another reason why I think you know, so many people get so down on themselves, that you're looking at the best that somebody has on their page, and you really think, oh my gosh, they've made it. But
behind closed doors.
Yes, and we know the struggle. You know, we know the struggle. And I do think where self-love comes in is that you have to focus on yourself and your own gifts, and not put so much energy into what somebody else is doing, because again, you'll get lost into thinking that they have, you know, this grandiose life going on, and they're barely making it like you just have that envision. Or you think, I was so over the term of people having glass skin, because I'm like, oh my God, that is, skin is not glass, like knock it off. And I was over trends, you know, because my thing is, this is part of what is making people feel so bad about themselves, is constantly looking outside of themselves for validation, and thinking that, oh my gosh, when I have this car, I've made it. When I have this much square footage, I've made it. Well, you know, I have to have on all this makeup and everything before I could even do anything. And I think so many of us are guilty of that. Me too. I mean, I had talked about sitting down and doing this podcast for well more than a year ago, and procrastinated for that same reason, looking at what everybody else has, and they have this kind of camera, and they have this location, and it has to look like this, it has to look like that. But you know what? At the end of the day, I just decided that, you know what? If I want things to change, but I don't change, then everything stays the same.
Exactly.
And so I said, I already have these little mics. I can just put up a phone. Here's a living room, and here we are. And because you got to start somewhere. You know, we didn't just hop into the car and learn how to drive. We had to take the lessons and the due diligence to get out there and be a safe driver. Although I don't know how that's working in Vegas, because we ain't got no safe driver. But another topic for another day. But I'm just saying, you have to start somewhere. And, you know, so I hope those of you listening will do exactly this. Get something to hold your phone, get a friend, get in your living room, get your topics together, and encourage somebody else. Because the sooner that you start doing that, the more comfortable that you feel with how you look, who you are, what your voice actually sounds like, the more content you will make, and the more fear that you will lose. We do not have everything all together, but we have love, and we have our gifts that we want to share with the people. So, you know, just don't be afraid to get out there and do your thing. Get out there and do your thing. So let's get into our fun topic of beauty.
Yeah, well, before we get into that, I do want to say, like, I love what you said, because our gifts are more valuable than over the aesthetic of, like, the whole setup and stuff like that. And nobody has nothing together, not one given time. Like, life comes in waves, so it's like we're all going through something at some point. And also, another thing I wanted to say is that talking about self-worth is like, also looking at external things or looking at money as like, this is that why us having this car or whatever, that means I'm self-worthy. And like, I want to like change that, because if you are looking like, oh, if I have this X amount of dollars, then I'm self-worthy, then you're going to, once you reach that amount, then you're going to be looking like, now I need this.
Exactly.
And it's like, you will never have that self-worth. So all this comes within. And as we're talking about this, of course, like we're talking about this now doesn't mean like it's going to, stick into your system. It takes time to get to that point and with practice, but at least we're reminding you, or maybe you can relate to what we're talking about, and then everything will come together on your journey as well. And it is a journey, and that's the best part. That's the best part. Like we're all exploring. So get comfortable and have fun with the exploration with yourself and others in this lifetime. Because like, why would you want to be so quick to get to the destination and you're not dead yet? Then you're gonna be like, dang, I'm bored. And there's a lot of people that say that they're bored because maybe they have traveled everywhere already, or maybe they have all the money that they desire and now they're bored. They don't know what to do. So
yeah, and you also have to remember too, when it comes to the love of self, exactly that. A monk feels completely fulfilled with having nothing in a jug of water. You know, then you have people that exactly have the millions, but yet they're not fulfilled inside. So that's one of the things that I began to, again, looking at the patterns of myself, was, yeah, I felt like it was going to be the things externally that will have you like, oh, you made it. But really, what is that? What is making it?
It's just
because if you have all of the things, but then you're not happy in the things, or I could tell you from a real grown adult perspective, when you're here and you're struggling to keep the things, then you can't even enjoy the things. So I think the root of loving yourself, what does self-love healing look like? Spending time with yourself. And then I think asking yourself some of the hard questions. Why do I do the things that I do? Where did I learn those things from? And are those things working for me? And if they're not, okay, now how do I begin to change those things? And it definitely starts with how you talk to yourself. Because I just think sometimes that we just do not, we need to give ourselves the love that we're giving to everybody else. Not being just a people pleaser for everybody else, but being a people pleaser for self. So let's get back into the beauty, because that was another thing I noticed, is for people to realize, when I started seeing my clients that were just so hurt by things in life and how they viewed themselves and their situation was absolutely not how I viewed them. And I used to think to myself, like, wow, why can't they see it? Like when they look in the mirror, why can't they see themselves how I see themselves?
Yes.
And being in there with our clients is like a therapy session.
It is.
And that was one of the things, again, I started asking myself. I even knew when I went to school, of course, I was already much older. I was 53. Majority of the people in there teens and 20s. I mean, there was a couple of oldie but goodies in there like me, but I would look at these young girls and I would think to myself, all these things that they talk about they want to do, like they can't wait till they get out. They want to do this to their face and inject this and get this surgery. And I would think to myself, like, man, little do you know, like, you guys are at the best time of your life. You're at the prime time of your life where you have the most estrogen in your body, the most collagen in your body.
Before it starts going after 20 something.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? And I mean, of course, I wouldn't say these things. I would just be thinking it because, of course, everybody has to arrive to their own destination in their own time. But that was one of the things I started kind of doing with my clients. And when I would hear them, speak negatively about themselves, I would just kind of pause and then start telling them all of the beautiful things about themselves, and because I think we forget, when you get to my age, you appreciate every stretch mark, you know that you birthed some kids and you earned those marks. You know, you don't have the plumpest breast. That's okay. I still fed my kids off of these breasts. You learn to be more appreciative of the things that you have because, of course, you know, you got more time on this side of the mountain than the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But my goal, again, is to remind people really of what your beauty is. It doesn't have to be about going by the butt, some boobs, or even at my age worrying about some Botox and some filler. Um, I had made up my mind a long time ago. It was just going to be what it's going to be. I'm a very simple person for the most part. And, you know, I always make a joke, but I'm like, I think I do have commitment issues where I'm not going to be that person. I'm sorry. I'm just some things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to commit to being in the beauty shop all the time, thus the locks. I'm not going to commit to lashes. I think they're beautiful. It's just not going to be for me. And I'm not going to be the person that's going to be going getting my face injected, you know, every however they do it, because
Yeah.
I'm just
And dropping
not.
thousands of dollars each syringe for it.
Yeah, that's why I'd rather have some shoes, you know. So it's just like, no, it's just something that I'm just absolutely not going to do.
Yeah.
So for you getting into aesthetics, where did you see it going for you? Like, and do you plan on staying in it? And what do you plan on doing? You know, you're so young. Where do you plan on going with it down the road?
Yeah, with my current mindset right now, I love to say that because things do change.
Mm-hmm.
With
Yes.
well, let me start off when I was in school. So the way that I envisioned my career to go is not how it is today, but the way for it to go was just to eventually have my own place and then really adapt into body contouring. I really like body contouring. I love that that is an option without being like undergo into surgery or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but also encourage people to have a better health and diet as well, because a lot of people to this day say they will say they went to like a body contouring session, whether it was like radio frequency or like a butt contouring, and they're like, I think that person scammed me because I'm not seeing the results, but they might have went only one time. And then I'm like, I will have to, if I'm in that conversation, I would tell them they didn't scan you.
Yeah,
like you have to actually go to the gym still.
Yes.
Like people are not thinking about the external,
the missing component,
or not the external, but the internal part of what your body is going through with that type of session, and then what you need to be doing afterwards. Even though we tell them, this is what you need. Well, some people tell them, and the reason why I say some, because I used to work at. Should I say the company?
Don't say the company.
The company that I was working for, they say like, oh yes, drink your water, make sure you walk, whatever, but they would just be lenient about it. They'd be like, oh, you don't have to do it though, but you probably should. Then it's like, they should be drinking their water and doing some weightlifting or something of the sort, some type of activity, but they're kind of lenient about it. And then like people are coming back, I think I'm seeing results, I think I lost edge, I think so. They're not sure. So it's like, or they might not be seeing the results at all. Anyway, so the journey of like how I saw myself was have my own place, servicing body contouring, facials, things of that sort, and being able to pour into the love that I have for myself into them, to be able to say like, this worked for me, maybe it works for you, and to empower those people, empower their spirit, and so they can levitate through themselves and throughout their life to flow in a better way and to have an easy life in that. And so not look at themselves like, I hate myself, I don't feel valuable, I feel like I'm not important, and things of that sort. I understand where you're coming from, especially like in different age groups of like, we're still suffering from that childhood trauma or whatever lie that we implemented in ourselves for quite some time. And it is sad. It is sad to look at somebody like, I don't see you in that way. I want you to, I mean, I would love for you. I don't want you. I don't want to say once, because I feel like it's like a chore, but like, I would love for you to look at yourself this way, because this is how I look at you. So maybe I can show you and maybe see if it works for you, if I can show you. But yes, to be successful in that way and help people in that way, as far as my esthetician journey, I still would like to be in it. I am going to school to get my associate's degree in science of nursing, and then eventually get my bachelor's degree, so I can apply that together and just having a better knowledge of how the internal body works when I'm doing these type of services. And then if I want to eventually maybe get into some type of Botox or like using hyaluronic acid to inject that, But I'm still like debating about it, but still have a higher education.
Yeah.
And at least that works. And, or I can be an ICU or NICU nurse. Let's see, what else? What
That's
else did
like,
you?
that's deep from one end of the spectrum to the other. Wow.
Yeah, for both sides. Yeah. Um, and I like also for as a nice reminder for us women because we tend to just be so nurturing. That's like one of our valuable powers, and that's what society forces us into. But as like I just want to remind us like it's okay to give that to ourselves and not and even just say no, I'm not in service right now.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, once I said earlier, once we remove that external validation, then we're good. Because that's where most of our validation comes from externally. Like, you're so beautiful, you're this and that. Like, that's the number one. You are so beautiful. I'm like, okay, what else?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. One of the things when I became an esthetician was, I can be real honest, I didn't know really jack about the gamut of what estheticians did. I had probably, it was again, the difference in the age is, back then it was, you never heard about self-care. And anything that you might saw somebody else doing, oh, that was like a selfish thing, and little did we know, no, that's a huge part of beauty, is taking care of yourself first. That is not selfish, because again, what can you have to give to somebody else if you haven't filled your own cup first? And I know we say that, but it's like, it's not just about, taking a bath or coming getting a facial. Those things are all wonderful things. But really, again, how are you talking to yourself? Because this is a stage where I'm at right now in looking at, okay, if I'm really loving myself and I really see myself as beautiful, I also have to be mindful of what I'm feeding myself, because that's part of beauty too, is thinking about nurturing your body, which is something that I haven't done for so many years, and something that I think people kind of shy away from. They really don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But, we are talking beauty from the inside emotionally, but food wise. And then, because that also is what we're going to be seeing on the outside. What we're feeding ourselves, especially today, because there's so much crap in the food, makes a difference in what's happening with your body and makes a difference with what's happening with your skin. And I think a lot of wisdom and knowledge and education is a big thing that's missing in the beauty industry, because everybody sees it as a money grab.
Quick money, yeah, for sure.
And that's why I think when you talk about people coming in getting the body work and things like that, them not really being educated on, because a lot of these places, you and I know, it's a lot of fly by night places that's here, right? The spas that's here today and gone tomorrow, because it was all really about the money grab. It really wasn't about nurturing the clients and giving them the education for them to actually realize like what they're really doing. So, for me, there's parts of it that I really have enjoyed, and then there's parts of it that I just really haven't. I really was kind of over a lot of people just getting buildings, them not actually being in the field, and then just really wanting to make money off of the people with the licensing over that. And I was kind of over, I was surprised actually too, like sometimes the services that are being offered to people, and those are not the products that are being used. The products out there that's being sold is one thing, but the products in the room, that's not really what's being used. Wow. And so for me, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm out of here. And I feel like in the 5 years, I've moved around so many times, because when you think it's going to be one thing until you get in there, and then you realize like, what? And so now I'm just at a place where I only really want to do the things that I love. So I had kind of paused services for now. I'm going to be getting back into a few of the things, because I think a big part of when you become an esthetician is doing just what you said, finding your niche. Like for you, you really discovered, hey, you love body work. I discovered it's a lot of things that I'm good at, but I don't necessarily love it. And I had made a promise to myself a long time ago that I wasn't going to do things that I didn't love.
Yeah.
And I find myself sometimes still going back into things that, it's okay, but I don't love it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, but I can't get that time back. So for me, I feel like the healing aspect of it is a huge part for me. I love working with crystals. I do my sound bowls, and I love meditation. And I had been asking myself, like, okay, how can I put those into doing a facial? Because I also love touch. Because well, also too, I think coming up as a kid with somebody not having a lot of affection, it makes me a very affectionate person. As you can see how much I touch you when we talk, I'm a very affectionate person. And that comes really natural to me. And one of the things I used to always ask myself was, gosh, if I could just have a business that was just about loving people, how could I monetize that? Because that part is really easy for me, because I do tend to look for the best in people, and I just really hate to see people hurting. And if I can find a way to aid in that, that's what I want to do. So I think my goal is to merge those two things, where we can have crystals up in there, sound bath up in there, put you into a whole nother place while you still get your skin going. Because again, you're healing from the inside and healing, from the outside.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my heart really is. I mean, I know how to do it all. I can do waxing and all of that, but my thing is, like, I'm also, I'm no spring chicken anymore. I'm in my last year of my 50s, and I want to work a lot smarter, not harder, with the things that I love, So, all right. So give me some info on, if somebody wants to come in and do some yoga, or if they want to see you for their skin, or where can they find you?
Okay, yeah. I'm on Instagram. It's called its_Sharda. So its_SHARDA. And that's where you can see all my information. I am paused on my session services considering I'm at school right now, but I am active as a yoga instructor. So you can have all that information there. I post many different fun content in my Rise Gently diaries. And if you're interested in one of my classes, just DM me. We can talk. And then I'll give you all the information that you need. So yeah.
Rise Gently. I love that. I love that name. Rise Gently. Okay, well, now that you do your yoga and then I have my sound bowls, we're gonna have to partner up and do some things together.
Most
especially
definitely.
Now that the weather's warming up here, we can get some people out to the park. So
that's what I've been talking about.
Okay, so it sounds like a partnership is happening here. So you guys can stay tuned for that as well. But I hope you've enjoyed it. We want it to be just lighthearted, fun, and friendly, and have some girl time. And we're going to see you guys on the next episode of To the Root. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And I will make sure all of her information is also down below, so you know how to find her.